your latest news update from Western Mass News.
Good Monday afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris Pisano with a look at your headlines. Preparations are underway across the state before polls open in the morning for midterm elections. One of the biggest races to watch for tomorrow is the race for governor and the race for lieutenant governor. Democratic candidate Maura Healey and her running mate Kim Driscoll are up against Republican candidate Jeff Deal and his running mate Leah Allen. If Healey were to win, she would be the first woman and openly gay candidate to lead the Commonwealth. As for Deal, he was endorsed by former President Donald Trump. Police have arrested the man accused of carrying out a shooting on a university campus just over the border in Connecticut on Friday. 22-year-old Darnell Barnes was taken into custody by West Hartford police just before 11:30 last night. He's facing several charges, including assault and reckless endangerment. He's being held on $1 million bond. And lottery fever building to a new high as the Powerball jackpot grows to $1.9 billion. Growing since mid-August, tonight's drawing is the most money up for grabs ever. The cash option is valued at $929 million. Tonight's drawing will mark the 41st since the last time the jackpot was hit. The odds of winning are 1 in nearly 300 million.
I'm meteorologist Jana Brown. The check of your forecast. Skies remain clear as we continue through this evening. Temperatures getting chillier, though. Drier air now coming in behind a cold front. Plus, it's still going to be a little breezy through maybe the early morning hours tomorrow. So with those breezes, temperatures are going to start dropping back down into the 40s well before midnight. And then the pre-dawn hours, we're going to see temperatures fall into the 30s with a continued breeze. So when you head out to go check out that total lunar eclipse, best time to view is after 4:15 in the morning, and then totality looks to be from roughly 5 to 6 a.m. That's when you want to view it. Then the moon sets, the sunshine comes back out, and it's a chilly start with lows near mid-30s. Now tomorrow's afternoon temperatures return to the mid-50s, much more seasonable. Plus we'll have plenty of sunshine and still dealing with some gusty breezes. High pressure is going to build in overhead for Wednesday, giving us a lighter wind. And then Thursday it pushes to the south, and that will start increasing our temperatures. We'll still have plenty of sunshine through Thursday with highs back to the 60s. Rain is on the way from Nicole Friday night into Saturday.
Stay with Western Mass News on air, online, and on our app throughout the day for breaking news, weather, and exclusive content.